Shalom, everyone. My name is Nakaraya. I want to give all praises to the Most High, and I want to give a lot of thanks to you guys for giving me so much love last week with the Opal analysis video. Took a lot of effort, energy, and tribulation to exude the art of the struggle, really posting that video, and I'm very glad that a plethora of you really enjoyed it. So thank you guys for that, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this lecture as well. Today, we're going to hopefully I won't have too much of your time today. We're going to be going over 3 tenets of femininity that I gained from Proverbs 31, and we're going to correlate that into why wisdom is a feminine spirit. So, we're going to be going at an accelerated pace, so if you guys could keep up with me, we're going to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, and we're going to start at verse 10. I'm going to get right into it here. It says, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." So we already see here that scarcity and value are linked. So a virtuous woman is a very rare thing to find. Right, okay. So verse 11, "The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life." Now, this is really good when we think about Genesis, right? Because when you look at the book of Genesis, we get the historical anecdote of Adam and Eve. And you see, I don't think enough people ask this question, which is, why did the Most High use Adam's rib to make the woman? And I think there's a lot of symbolism that goes into this transaction, because it's like, well, what does the rib cage do? Well, it protects the lungs and it protects the heart. So when you think about how the heart is oftentimes symbolic of the emotional state, and then you understand that women are typically more emotionally intelligent than men are, as we are more cognitively inclined, then you get to see exactly how one of the many ways that women help their male counterpart. So it says, "The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her." And I think it's symbolic of the rib cage, right? Because the rib cage is keeping the heart safe, right? So just like the male is supposed to protect the female in physical and spiritual confrontation, the woman is supposed to protect the male in emotional and spiritual confrontation. And so that's something that's very beautifully observed in Proverbs 31 by the virtuous woman. And we'll get more on that when we get into what I believe are the 3 tenets of femininity. Verse 13, "She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar." She bringeth her food from afar. That's very helpful and compassionate. "She riseth also while it's yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms." So it's going into all of the things that a virtuous woman does. These are her works. These are her ambitions. And oftentimes people can conflate being a real woman or a virtuous woman with the corporate ladder doctrine of the enterprising nature of the human existence. And that's a big mistake, I'd say, because what it is to be a virtuous woman and subsequently a woman of the Most High, it's far more tilted towards the altruism of motherhood and nurturing and kindness, and less towards the ambitious financial monetary gain route. So we go further down, let's see, 16. No, 17. No, 18. "She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle. Got a little speck there. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff." So she's always working, essentially, like the Most High is always working. It's kind of interesting. "She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household. For all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom. And in her tongue is the law of kindness. Kindness. Not being nice. We won't go into that this video. But kindness. And this is with her tongue, which is also laced with wisdom, which we'll get back into. She goeth well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. And that is to say that she doesn't subscribe to doing nothing. Her child ariseth up, and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Talking about the virtuous woman. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. And this is what you see an immense amount of cases rising on this behalf as far as my generation is concerned, right? Because you have this thing called the trophy wife, which is just, I'm too pretty to do anything, let's say, and my high value in beauty should be compensated by monetary gain by the rich man, let's say. That's not the ideal or the doctrine of the virtuous woman, and I don't think that it is the true essence of femininity. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Most High, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. And the works that it's talking about is all of which we read from just now, verse 10 all the way to 31. All right, so I know that was just like a real crash course, but I want to keep us moving. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. So this leads me to what I believe are the 3 tenets of femininity. Altruism, number 1. And my definition of altruism here is the selfless concern for the well-being of others, often involving acts of kindness, generosity, or sacrifice without expecting anything in return. And that's a art, right? Because it's very rare that you find someone who's willing to do something for you and at the same time doesn't expect anything in return. Even if they don't say that they expect anything in return, it's partially insinuated, right? So that's a rarity, and it's just like who can find a virtuous woman? You know, her price is far above rubies. So scarcity and value are linked yet again. Emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is very key here because this beckons the question: why do we think that wisdom is a feminine spirit? You know, that's a really tricky question, you know, because when you think of the wisest persons in the world, you likely think of the wisest men in the world. You think of the Hebraic philosopher Solomon, and then you think of David, and you think of, maybe you're a little outside of the biblical anthology. You think of Socrates, Aristotle, etc. All of these are masculine figures, but wisdom is typically regarded as a feminine spirit. Why is that? Well, I asked this question when I was first exploring the wisdom literature in the biblical anthology, and I said, well, when you look at all of like the tenets of wisdom and things that wisdom deems to be extremely important, it's all emotional. Most of it is emotional. Wisdom abides within reason, and it tells you to typically choose your reasons over passion, but it doesn't negate passion at all. If anything, from what I've read, it's like you need to use your passion within reason, and you need to use your passion to gain reason and counsel and understanding, right? So it's not like you're totally just, it's all logic and it's all about being void of emotional inclination and more so about cognitive action. Like, that's a big mistake. Like, it's such a big mistake that I've made that it's truly embarrassing. And I hope that those who are watching are able to learn from my mistake and are able to really dive into the literature and seek emotional intelligence, because that is what wisdom is all about. And what is emotional intelligence? Well, there's a plethora of examples, but I'll give you one. Because in the study of gerontology, which is the study of elders and aging, we see that there is a paradigm shift that happens with the elder and the youth. And this is typically why the elderly are more wise than the youth. When you're young, you are typically on this path for knowledge acquisition. This is why a lot of young people are going to college, myself included. And you think in terms of, oh, I want to be here 10 years from now, and 15 years from now, 5 years from now. I want to be here tomorrow, right? And we know that tomorrow is not promised. And that's definitely obvious within the literature. But then, if you look at the elders have a paradigm shift of time because they realize that their mortality is more confronted. And that is the inaugural of psychological friction between what is really important and what is not. And that's my definition of wisdom. It is the insightful enlightenment of what is and what isn't. Right? No, it is the insightful enlightenment both of and on what is and what isn't. Right? And that includes what is and what isn't important. So it's like, if you are confronted with the idea of you being on your deathbed, you might make far more emotionally intelligent decisions. Like, you'd probably mend the bond that you torn with your son, for example, right? Because you realize that that's a hell of a lot more important than, let's say, I don't know, corporate praise or monetary gain. In fact, you might make your will, you'll draft your will so that way the people that you leave behind that you truly care about are taken care of financially. That's an emotionally intelligent decision. Right, because Darwin, for those of you who don't know Darwin, he was basically the founder of evolution theory. Darwin was terrified of bees because the nature of bees contradicted the assumption of evolutionary processes, which was self-preservation. But bees aren't like that. Bees have a proclivity of sacrificing themselves for the sake of the hive and the sake of the queen, which is indirectly for the hive. And this is when he added this to the theory, which is family preservation. Family preservation is emotional intelligence, right? Because family preservation isn't about self-preservation. It's not encrypted within the mind, let me make sure that this person is taken care of. It's more so becomes more manifest within the parent once they have a child. But it's not encrypted within the DNA of the human psyche. It's just not. So when you think of wisdom is about knowing what you're here for, which is to love and to sacrifice for that love and all of these things, like knowing how to lead and knowing how to guide people and knowing how to give counsel and all of these things. These are all things that are done with passionate emotional reasons. So emotional intelligence, because typically women are more emotionally intelligent than men are, and men are more logically and cognitively intelligent than women are, on average. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, but that does not negate the rule, right? So, and with that, I'm actually going to go really quickly to Proverbs. Oh, no, I'm not. We read that already. Whoops. So the last tenet we're going to talk about here is creativity. Now, the reason I wanted to go into creativity is because I had this conversation with my wife recently, and I was saying that oftentimes the Most High will use concepts that's palatable in the physical realm, so that way humans can have a better understanding of the divine. So, for example, he says that he is the Father and the God of the Israelites, right? And he is the Father of all, so to speak. And humans are better able to comprehend that because we all come from fathers. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, so the Most High, being the masculine figure that holds life, he is the father of all things, and that's sort of the amplified divine equivalent that we should of respect that we should give him as a father. And so then, but the interesting thing that I came up with after sharing that is, okay, well, the scriptures say that he created all things with wisdom, and we know that wisdom is a feminine spirit. So it's like, okay, so the man and the woman create a child, and it's like, okay, so the Most High, and he did this with wisdom, created all things. And it's like, okay, so then that's our first sort of insight into the male and female connection and how it brings about the fruit of creativity. And that's why there are a lot of people who believe that the most creative hormone, if you will, is oxytocin. That's the love hormone, and that leads into, you know, you feeling sexually aroused and whatnot, which you need to be careful with, because you don't want to conflate that with concupiscence, of course. But it's like that creative drive to want to, how would you say, go in unto someone, let's say, that is a drive that is inspired by procreation. So, with that being said, I don't see how creativity is not an art that is derived from the true facets of femininity. Like, if you look at, like, art and dance and singing, like, it is of my belief, I know it's subjective, and it's art, so it is subjective. Don't stone me in the comments. I think that it's pretty dominated by women. Now, there are, of course, a plethora of well-known singers and artists, etc., that are male, but women tend to grasp things that are just subjectively more beautiful, because there is a lot of altruistic, emotional, intelligent thought that goes into their fancies, let's say. And so, with that being said, it's really hard for me to grasp too, because I'm not necessarily like void of creativity, but I have a more analytical and empirical way of looking at things, so it's hard for me to talk about something as abstract as creativity. But that's why love is on the thumbnail, because love is even more abstract, and it's not equally, even more challenging to talk about. But women seem to have that down pat, as far as I'm concerned. I have another scripture that I want to go to. This is Proverbs 3:19. Let's see what we have here. Proverbs 3:19. Yes, the Most High by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. So, this is just confirmation for what I just said, which was that the Most High by wisdom founded everything and created everything. And so, that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to conclude this video. Please leave your thoughts in the comment sections. Let me know what you think, any questions that you might have, and let me know if you have any video suggestions. I know some of you were leaving some suggestions on what I should probably analyze or react to in the Opal analysis comment section, which I truly appreciate. Yeah, I'm actually excited for this channel. We have a lot of different content coming soon. The Most High is gracious and generous in his ideas that he gives me for these lectures, and I'm very thankful. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. I hope that you, as always, stay safe, stay dangerous, and as always, be wise. Shalom.